Today I have a special guest. This is Rick Rodriguez. He has been a carnivore for 40 years. So, Rick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started doing carnivore?
Well, it'll be 40 years by August.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly when I started, but I know that I started over the summer in 1983 when I was going from junior high to high school. So I actually started it in desperation. I think it was more of a joke than anything. I didn't start it as a way of losing weight because I was always very skinny and I didn't have any health issues because obviously, as young as I was, I don't think too many young people had serious health issues. My biggest problem is that I was one of the smallest and skinniest kids in junior high, and I was not looking forward to high school, so it was on my mind when the summer started. But the triggering event that caused me to eat this way, I was helping my dad build a carport. I fell through the carport, I broke my arm, and I was pretty much stuck at the house. My mother was taking courses at the college for renewing her teaching certificate, and then my dad was working, so I was pretty much stuck by myself at the house. So I had to come up with some kind of breakfast and lunch on my own. And like most 15-year-old boys, I had no idea how to cook.
Yeah. All right. So you were entering high school, you said, right? Leaving
That is
junior high,
correct.
entering high school, and you were small. So when you started eating meat, did you notice a difference? Did it help you in growing? Did you get like a growing spurt or?
Well, this is the interesting part. Believe it or not, the reason I started the diet, well, there's actually several reasons, but when you're a teenager and you're really frustrated, a lot of times you just figure, well, what's the sense? Who wants to live like this when you're skinny and you're short and everybody picks on you and laughs at you? Might as well just be dead. And I was watching TV, and I'll never forget. After I broke my arm, I was stuck in the house. I couldn't really go outside because I didn't want to, I wanted it to heal. And I remember watching a show we had at night. It was called PM Magazine. It was something they had on Channel 4. And they had this, I think it was called Jazzercise or something like that, some kind of exercise segment. So they had someone who was some kind of health expert talking about the way that people eat was going to cause health issues, and that eating too much meat, lots of fat, and those things were going to cause you to get a heart attack. Now, after I broke my arm, I was stuck at home and I was frustrated, but I started thinking, if I'm sick, I can't really go to school. So I may have to stay home. Maybe they'll give me some assignments to do at home. So if I could get sick somehow, maybe I wouldn't have to go to high school because I didn't want to go. In fact, I was thinking about if I could just make it through 10th grade, I turned 16, I could get my GED and get the heck out of that place once and for all. But what actually happened when I saw that show and I started thinking about it, then my parents were having trouble. Oh, we don't, what are you going to eat? We're not going to be here. You're going to have to cook for yourself. So I started thinking, okay, if I want to get sick, maybe I should eat what they're telling me not to eat. And everything then was low calorie and fat free. Now, I had grown up with health conscious. My father was health conscious, so he believed in whole grains, whole wheat bread, brown sugar, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, what's the exact opposite? And then I started thinking, steak, fat, anything that has fat in it. And I remember watching a Tom and Jerry cartoon where Tom put lard on his hair, and I saw some old movie that they had from the 1940s where the lady was baking, she was using lard, and then they had bacon and eggs. I thought, okay, I'm going to go for all this stuff that they had back then. And just to make it even more interesting, I started putting lard in my own hair. I started dressing like the 1950s. I wanted a 50s haircut, so I greased it down, put a part in it, and I just figured I'll go whole hog. I'm going to do exactly what they did in the old days. The only thing I didn't do was start smoking because I can't stand cigarettes. I think they're disgusting. And I think that people that smoke them are just idiots. But other than that, obviously, if you're going to eat all this high fat food, that's one way that you could end up with a heart attack, maybe get sick. And then the other thing was, my parents always told me that if you eat, liver and meat, it's going to make you grow muscle. I thought, well, okay, so that's what I did. Now I started eating that way, and it was the summertime. I was definitely eating like that in August. School started. When I went to the doctor, they said it'll probably be a month or so because you broke your arm. We don't want to send you there. I didn't have a cast. All I had was a sling, and I actually found the old sling when I was going through my old stuff. One of these days when I find it, I'll put it in the video of my story. But when I got that, and I thought, all right, I may be out of school for a month. That's at least 1 month I don't have to deal with it. But to my surprise, when I went back to the doctor, I think after the first week of school, the doctor said, oh, you're healing very quickly. You can go back to school in a week or two. I thought, oh, no. I thought, it takes time for the heart attack diet to make me sick, so I'll just I doubled down. I ate more meat, more fat, as much fat as I could get. And we had some meat in the refrigerator, but I talked my parents into getting me some more. And I remember it was like 48 cents a pound or something for the cheap meat they had. It was loaded with fat. And the ground meat, there was a Grand Union not that far away. There was a Winn-Dixie, and there was an Extra Superfood Center. So there was a lot of places we could get meat. So when it came time to go to the store, I used to hate to go to the grocery store. I hate shopping. But then when my dad was shopping, and my mom sent him a list, he says, oh, you want to go to the store with me and pick what you want. Pick the food you want. So I just picked a bunch of meat. And they had a bunch of marked down meat, so it was really nice. And then I also had some money that I had made when I used to repair lawnmowers and fix things for people in the neighborhood. So I had a little money saved up. I'd get on my bicycle, go down to the Grand Union, and find out when they had the marked down meat. So I got to the point where I just kept eating more and more meat, and no vegetables, no fruits. I figured I'm going to get sick because my parents say you got to eat your fruits and vegetables or you're just not going to be healthy. So I went all the way into the carnivore diet. There was also a show called The Dukes of Hazzard where you had Boss Hogg. He was a big fat guy, and he normally ate raw liver. So I thought, that's a good idea. So I started eating raw liver. And I never liked liver because my parents had cooked the liver so tough. It was terrible tasting. They put some spices on it. And it was like garbage with spices. But the raw liver was actually pretty good. Sometimes I'd put lime juice or something else to marinate it. It was very delicious. So I got this really weird diet. And, the funny thing was I didn't feel any different. I didn't grow, at least up till that point. But my fear of going to high school went away. After, when they sent me back to school, I remember it was a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks late. And I went in there and I wasn't even nervous. I thought, whatever. I missed some work, who cares? And when I got into school, my attitude was totally different what it was in junior high. Junior high, I was kind of nervous and always, wondering when someone was going to spit on me or, knock my books out of my hand or something like that. I got to high school. There was still a few of the bullies in there, but it didn't really bother me anymore. And since I larded up my hair, there was no one messing up my hair anymore. The first time a kid stuck his fingers in my hair, he goes, oh, how disgusting. It was all covered in lard. And I was laughing. I thought it was funny. So I'm going to kick your ass, you know that? And I said, oh. I ran away. I was always quick, but I was even faster. That kid tried to catch me. He could not catch me. I ran so fast, so far away, couldn't even touch me. So, yeah, high school wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And as time went on, it just got better.
It's like it seems like your confidence went up with eating meat, is what it sounds like, right?
It went up a lot. And the other thing that went up was my grades. I was a C student, basically, in elementary school, junior high, but by high school, I became a straight A student. By the time I graduated high school, I had a 4.0 average. I even got a scholarship from it. So my grades went way up. I don't know what happened. I don't know what caused that.
Well, there are people out there that say that they have like brain fog, right? And then they go to carnivore diet and that goes away. So I'm sure there was something towards that effect that just cleared your mind more so that you could learn more, learn better. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, school is very boring. A lot of times, I still, to this day, I'll fall asleep in a lecture. But even when I was falling asleep in class, it seemed like whenever there was something that was interesting, I would somehow wake up and remember it. And a lot of times when I was given a test, I could remember things that I didn't really think about, didn't really study, because you know how it is in school. A lot of times they test you on stuff they don't really stress. They'll tell you to review something and they'll test you on something else. But I got good enough where I could kind of figure out what they're going to do. And then the other thing that happened was some of my teachers, I could actually judge their personality better. When I was younger, I would be surprised because something I did wasn't right. And then, maybe, I don't know, it was unexpected. But as I got older, I got to the point where I could kind of read the intentions of people. I knew when kids were going to pick on me. I knew when the teacher was going to do something. I started to look at a person and study them. And then it's like, oh, I know that type of person. I could categorize them. And that was another reason, by the time I was in, 10th grade, I wasn't really getting picked on much anymore. Once in a while you get a kid that did something, but it it went from being like I was a target to more like I was some kind of a genius or some kind of I don't know, smart guy. Not so much a nerd or geek, but somewhere in between mad scientist, something like that. So it was more like this is a kid that you ask questions when you need something. Like I made friends with some of the jock kids in school because they had trouble with algebra or trigonometry or some of these other math courses. And I looked at it, I go, wow, this is really easy. And I was a kid that couldn't even figure out multiplication in third grade. My mother had to teach me that at home. But as I had biology in high school, I did well in that. I took electronics classes, I did well in that. It just seemed like everything fell into place. I could remember things and I could think critically, which I couldn't do before. Before that, it was more of an emotional thing. I'd get upset and then I'd shut down. But everything changed in high school.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that your father was really big into health and nutrition. What did he think about you eating basically all meat?
He thought I was going to kill myself. He says, well, you're old enough. Then he said, well, you're young. You can eat whatever you want. You'll be fine. But no, he was very much against that. My mother, she wasn't happy with it either. But it was kind of like they were busy. I was taking care of myself. What's the problem? Yeah, maybe I'll do some damage, but eventually I'll change my mind. I'll eat normal and everything will be fine. I'll be back to the granola bars and the oatmeal and all the disgusting wheat germ and all the other garbage they used to give me, that nasty duck food. Oh, I hated that stuff. And all those vegetables, those cooked vegetables. Yeah, terrible.
I mean,
used
is
to
there a
throw that.
kid that likes vegetables though? Really?
No, nah, I don't like vegetables. The only way I could eat broccoli is if I put ground meat. If I put a bunch of ground meat in there with a bunch of fat and cooked it up, and then, yeah, I could eat it. But it wasn't, steamed broccoli? Ugh. It tastes like leaves and dirt. It's nasty. And some of the stuff, my parents, they would cook. Even when they cooked meat, they didn't do a great job. The chicken would be slimy and nasty, and, there was a lot of stuff that just didn't taste good. And, we had a window in our dining room. There's a lot of ducks in the neighborhood, so all I would do is open the window and out the window. The ducks would eat it. My parents didn't know any better until one day my dad saw me throw something out the window and the ducks were eating it. What are you doing? But no, I was so glad that I switched to a meat-based diet. You have no idea. But as time went on, my parents didn't get mad anymore because they could see what was happening to me. I was changing in a drastic way.
Yeah. And so, can I ask, when was the last time that you had any vegetables?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I think a year ago, a friend of mine made some kind of fish chowder, and I think it had some celery or something in it. And I remember I bit into it, and then I set the vegetables off to the side. I usually keep a plastic bag, so when I go to eat at somebody's house, I can put the veggies in there, put them in my pocket, and then when I get home, I throw it to the ducks. It might have been a year ago.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a perfect example for, people out there say you can't do the carnivore diet because you got to eat vegetables. You can't maintain without vegetables. And you're talking about a very little bit that you had a year ago.
Well, I did go vegetarian for about 7 months in 1993,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
was the worst experience of my life. It was horrible. The diarrhea, the gas, the pain. Sometimes I would eat, an hour later, my stomach intestines would hurt. It was bad. And then next
Hmm.
thing you know, I couldn't go anywhere without having a toilet nearby. And if I didn't have a toilet, I better have a shovel and some toilet paper because when it comes, and it was bad.
And that was after you had already started doing carnivore. So then, uh, so you had that experience and then just switch right back to carnivore?
Well, I didn't switch back to carnivore immediately. What happened was
Okay.
I was getting sick and tired of hearing all the people telling me I was going to die. And then I remember when I had gone for a checkup, they said that, my blood pressure was too low and my cholesterol was high. So I was at high risk of a stroke. And there were some other factors involved too. But I got frustrated. I said, you know what? If vegetables are so good, I'm going to try a vegetarian diet. That's it. And I started off still eating eggs and some fish, but felt good for a couple of months. Everything was going well. Then I started feeling a little, not so good. So they said, oh, you got to get rid of all the dairy, the vegetables, the meat, whatsoever. So around, I guess, March, April, I went completely plant based. The vegetables, the pasta, the rice, all the crap, all the duck food. I went full quack. And by July, I was just, and I got some kind of flu that knocked me out. It knocked out my parents too, but I mean, I couldn't eat for a week. I felt terrible, throwing up. It was worst experience of my life. And when I finally got better, the first thing I did was go out in the yard and get some duck eggs. And I ate those. And then the next place I went was Winn-Dixie to get some meat. And after that, no more vegetarian diet for me. Ever.
Hmm. And so you mentioned that you had the flu before that and after that on carnivore. How often do you seem to get sick?
I get sick about once a year. In the last 3 years, I've had the virus three
Mm-hmm.
times: 2020, 2021, and 2022. But the interesting thing is, even though I tested positive for this virus, I had very few symptoms. I just didn't have the get up and go that I normally have. My energy went, and then I got headaches, felt rotten. My knees hurt. I felt like I was getting arthritis or something. And then after a week, I felt better. So then they say, "Oh, you need to get tested. Go get tested." Okay, so I went down to the park and I got the test. Yes, you're positive for COVID-19. And like I said, I got it in 2020, 2021, and 2022. So far this year, I haven't been sick. In fact, I haven't had any symptoms. And there's a flu going around right now. Some of the people I work with are sick. That's why I got home a little late today. I got back 7:30. I had to run and take a bath and get ready. And I'm here. I haven't even eaten my dinner yet. But it's in the crock pot. It's cooking slowly. The longer it cooks, the better it'll be. But yeah, I and if you ask any of my friends, they say, well, Rick doesn't get sick very often. That's true. The only time I really get sick is when I'm stressed, overworked, or, things are all going wrong. Then I'll get sick. But if my life is normal, I don't get sick. And I get around other people. The worst I may get is the sniffles, maybe a cough or two. That's it.
So what's in the crock pot?
I have some beef. I have a top round. It was $2.78 a pound at the Cuban Winn-Dixie. I bought $74 worth of it, and I've been cutting it in pieces, and then I just put it in the crock pot with a little bit of water, and I added some salt, which is a couple of the carnivore people said I should do. It still tastes the same, but yeah, it's nice and tender and tasty and makes a good dinner. I had it for lunch too. I've
Yeah.
been eating that stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The only difference is with breakfast, I have 4 eggs.
Okay.
And I do have my yogurt with every meal.
Okay. So, do you kind of go to a lot of different meats, or do you like to stick to a couple, just, a couple different ones as your main meats that you eat, or?
It depends on what's on sale. I'm not a rich man, so I have to buy what's the cheapest, unfortunately. Maybe one day that'll change. Beef is my favorite. That's what I always go to, number one. Ground meat is probably the most popular thing that I've eaten. I eat at least 2 pounds of beef per day, and I've been eating that way for decades. So, and again, they told me that red meat causes cancer. I'm going to get colon cancer. So don't be surprised if I have colon cancer. And then heart attack. I probably get a heart attack every week and don't know it. But yeah, definitely red meat. Now, chicken, there is chicken on sale. They have it for 48 cents a pound. So I may pick up a couple of 10-pound bags and I'll fry those up. So I may have chicken tomorrow or the next day for one meal. But sometimes I buy pork, and same thing, I'll cook the pork in a pot. I cook most of my meat in a pot. Once in a while, I will grill the meat, very rarely. And when I make my heart attack burgers, I use one of those stovetop griddles. It has like the little lines on it. That's what I'll use to make big half-pound patties that are thick. I make the buns out of pork rinds and eggs. I'll put cheese in there. I'll put some pork strips or bacon, load it up with lard, just like the heart attack grill in Las Vegas, but with more calories.
Yeah. It's funny because I've never ate there before, but I've seen the place, and it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, I guess maybe because they're putting a bunch of condiments and you got the bun and all that stuff, but otherwise it's all just the perception that you're going to have a heart attack from beef, even though you're really not.
That's right. And the other thing is, if you eat all those calories, you're going to gain a bunch of weight. But I've been
Yeah.
eating so much meat and fat over my life, and I am the skinniest 6'6" guy you've ever met. I only weigh 190 pounds. I'm so skinny, I could pass for a vegan. The only difference is I don't look like a vegan, although they say I have dark circles under my eyes, but I actually don't. It's just the structure of my face. It's an optical illusion. But I've had a lot of vegans tell me, you don't look healthy. I said, okay, fine. You come to my house and we'll run up and down the street and we'll see who lasts longer.
Yeah. All right. So, um, so you do sound like you have a pretty good mixture of meat that you like, but it sounds like beef is probably, you would say, your favorite then?
Yeah. And when I
Okay.
lived in Key Largo, I used to eat a lot of seafood because I'd catch seafood,
Mm.
people would give it to me. So at one time I was eating a bunch of seafood. I love shrimp, snapper, grouper. I love little fish like sardines. I mean, when I have seafood, I'll gobble it up. But my favorite meat is beef. And I love steak and I love a good ground beef. I like beef is my thing.
Okay. So let's turn to the doctor. You were talking about the doctor before and that they were complaining about your cholesterol. So I'm assuming that you have blood work done every once in a while, or you used to at least.
It was 1996.
Wow.
It's like the last time I went to a dentist was 1986 because they kept telling me, my teeth are crooked because of bad genetics or probably that diet that I was eating before I ate a bunch of meat. But they said, oh, we'd have to put braces and pull your teeth. And I'm like, no, you're not pulling my teeth. That's it. Oh, if you don't go to the dentist, you're going to get cavities. You're going to lose your teeth. Well, I don't, my teeth don't hurt. My gums don't hurt. What's the difference? And the doctor that I had, he was overweight, didn't look healthy. He was probably 30 something, 40 something, big old stomach sticking out, the chin all the way out. It was terrible. He looked like some kind of frog or something. And he's telling me that my cholesterol is too high and my risk of heart disease is high and my blood pressure is too low. I'm like, take my blood pressure now. When I got mad, it was way up there. I tried to explain to him, it goes up and down. When I was out there with the nurse taking the blood pressure, it was 90/60. Come in here, it's like 150/90 or something like that because I'm getting upset. So that to me, that seems normal. Your blood pressure goes up when you need it, and it goes down when you don't. But
Mm-hmm.
that doctor aggravated me. So I told him, I said, I am never coming back here. I don't care. I'm going to die of a heart attack. Screw it. I'd rather die of a heart attack than have to take a bunch of pills and be helpless all the time.
And what's funny about that is that that's probably the fact that you haven't gone to the doctor or the dentist in so long is probably one of the reasons why it's so hard to get carnivore into the mainstream because pharma in the medical industry, they're going to lose so much money if people go carnivore because you won't be sick all the time and have to go to the doctor all the time.
That's true. And I've never, I've cut myself many times and had injuries. I've never had an infection. I've never had to get antibiotics. Most people I know, they get antibiotics at least once a year when they get sick. I haven't had any. So if you think about it, the amount of pharmaceuticals that I've taken is zero. And like you said, they're losing money on somebody like me. How are they going to make money? One day I'll just drop dead of a heart attack and that's it. They don't get to pump me full of poison for decades.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. All right. So, let's see what else we want to talk about. You had mentioned before, I think we might have been talking in conversation on one of the YouTube things or something, and you had talked a bit about a pizza that you make. And I'm bringing this up because before carnivore, I loved pizza. I could probably eat it every day, right? And I've stayed away from it because, it's very carby with the crust and so forth. But I've heard that people do something with like eggs, and you mentioned a egg and chicken crust. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that crust?
Oh, that stuff is really good. Um, Standard pizza, I mean, I really don't like the taste. I mean, pizza's one of those funny things because it can taste good. The meat if you put on the pizza, like if you put ground meat or you put sausage or something like that, it tastes good. And even when there's mushrooms on the pizza, that can taste good. And I don't really have anything against the tomato sauce, although I'm not a big tomato fan. The cheese is good, but the pizza crust, I don't know what they put in the commercial pizza crust, but the few times that I've eaten one, I've gotten violent, explosive diarrhea. It is terrible. So what I did, I thought, how can I make a pizza? Well, when I found out how pizza was made with dough and uh, let me see if I could find something else. And I remember I was trying to make some kind of a smoothie because a lot of the vegetarian people I know, they drink these disgusting compost, whatever that nasty crap is. They put a bunch of veggies in there and grind it up with a blender and drink this nasty crap. That stuff is so nasty, even a duck wouldn't want it. So I thought, well, maybe I could blend something else up that tastes good. So I thought, well, let me see what I have. So I put some eggs in there. Okay, eggs are good. And can I put something as a filler? Well, you need something that's fibrous to hold it together. And I had already experimented making tacos because I love to make my own tacos. And the way I was making tacos is basically just take an egg, a flat egg like I normally do, and fold it over and put some meat in it and then put cheese on top and eat it. So I thought, what could I put in there to make it more stiff so it'll look like a regular taco? And I tried putting fish in there, and that didn't taste so good. But then I thought, what is the most basic meat that I can use, has very little flavor, and has a nice texture? Well, chicken. So what I do, I put chicken in the blender, and then I put eggs in there, blend it all up, and then what you do, you roll it out onto a pan. You put it into an oven, and I have one of those electric pizza ovens that you can just plug in. You put that in there, and you let it dry out. You let it heat up a little bit, and it's almost like an omelet. It bonds together. It's not. I mean, it's not the same as a crust like you'd get for a regular pizza, but it's soft and it's a little firm. And then once you get it dried out the way you want it, then you can put your pizza toppings in there. What I'll do, I'll get some cheese and I'll get some ground meat, I'll get some sausage and put it in there and make a nice pizza topping and spread it all out. And then you can use like a sour cream or something as a filler and just put it in there and you make this nice kind of a cream pizza. You can put tomato sauce if you want. I've made it for friends and they all like it. But then you put it back and you bake it a little more and that's it. It's ready to go and it's never soggy. It tastes really good because, you can cut a slice, you can bite into it. It just tastes so much better than the pizza you can buy or have delivered. And it smells the same. I mean, it smells as good as any other pizza. And everybody I've given it to, even though they laugh at me like, pizza with no flour? Oh, that's nasty. I said, well, try a piece. They try it. Not bad. And you can always add your favorite plant-based spices. A friend of mine likes peppers, and I grow ghost peppers. So I'll cut some ghost pepper and put it in there and make a nice spicy pizza. Oh, it's really good. I haven't made one in a while because it's too hot down here. I only do that when we get winter, and we haven't had winter in a couple of years, but whenever we get cold weather and I fire up the oven, I'd make one of those pizzas in the main oven, or I use a little plug-in thing, that works too. But yeah, it's a really, really tasty. If you do it right, you're going to enjoy the taste. You'll like it more than the regular pizza you were eating.
Hmm. I definitely have to try that sometime. All right. So let's change directions again and let's talk about now. So you're going to be in August 40 years doing carnivore, which is incredible. Um, and that means that you're obviously older than 40 years old and you look great
55.
for your age.
I'm
55.
55. Yeah.
You look great for your age.
Thank
So
you.
at 55, how are things like? Is Do you have any kind of pain or anything, or is just
No, I don't have any pain. In
wow?
fact, I can sit like this. I can. There's nothing I can't do. I don't have any back pain or anything. No, I have no aches or pains whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like you're 55, but you're really like 35 or something, right?
Nothing like that. I mean, I don't even have any gray hair. Look,
Yeah, I see that. It's
completely.
amazing.
I don't put anything in it. I don't even have gray hair on any other part of my body. It's all just the same color as when I was younger.
Yeah, it's amazing. That just goes to show to you what 40 years of eating properly can do for your body.
Yeah, except that I thought it was deadly. I thought this was the most deadly diet possible. And by the time I got to be 50, I'd be dead. That was
And
what I wanted.
that's the ironic thing, right? You're thinking, okay, I'm going to either kill myself or I'm going to get out of school for a
Yeah.
while because I'm going to be sick. And here you actually got better quicker.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And like I said, I haven't made the video yet, but in fact, I had that yearbook around here somewhere from junior high. How small I was. Yeah, I'll find it. Oh, there it is. It's up on the shelf. It's amazing where it all started. It started with me small and frustrated, and then look at what's happened. I grew tall, and I don't get frustrated like I used to. I run into problems. I have things break. The roof leaks, the car breaks down, my transmission went out. So I fixed it. What's the big deal? I encounter problems all the time. I have customers that have problems, and they're just having a breakdown. Oh, my refrigerator's broken, and this is out and that's out. Okay, well, I take care of it, and that's it. No problem.
Hmm. Yeah. And so you said you're 6'6", right? So you
Yes,
really did grow a lot.
yes, I did.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's funny because you talked about being such a small kid, and now you're 6'6", and you've been doing this for 40 years. You have no problems. I know from watching some of your YouTube videos that you're very flexible, as you just kind of showed as well. Um, it's just amazing you know, the life you've had because of the way that you've eaten the whole time, which, people said, no, that's not the way to do it. But then look at the results you had.
I don't know if you've seen the Time magazine they had a year after I started this. I remember when I was in Wilco, my parents, I don't know, they were buying something. They had a Time magazine. When you go into the register, they always had those magazines along the side when you go to pay. And I remember seeing this Time magazine. It was 1984. It had a plate, like a cartoon of a plate with the eyes were two eggs, and it was like a frowning piece of bacon in the middle. And I remember seeing that, and I laughed when I saw it. I thought, oh, this is, oh, look, that's, you're eating. It's the bad news. Oh, you're going to get a heart attack. I said, yeah, I know I'm going to get a heart attack. I don't care. Bring it on. I'm ready.
So you mentioned bacon. What about other processed meats like, ham that might be processed, stuff like that? Hot dogs, stuff like that. Do you eat any of that stuff?
No. In fact, I don't even really eat bacon. If I eat bacon, it's very rare. Normally, what I prefer is to buy the pork belly and to, process it myself. I'll cut it in strips. I'll put salt on it if I want to make bacon. But most of the time, I take the pork belly and I cut it and I put it in this. I got this round convection oven. This thing is, old. Nowadays, they call those things an air fryer. But it's just a convection oven. It has a fan on top, and it's like a big porcelain bowl. and I would put the pork strips in there and fry them up. Another thing I like is pork skins. So when I
Mm.
buy a pork shoulder, I cut the skin off, I put it in pieces in there, and oh, that tastes so good. It's crunchy, it's flavorful, and there's no processing whatsoever. But you know, bacon is something I have when I go to a friend's house if they have it. I don't buy it myself. It just seems like an awful lot of money for a little bit of meat with a little bit, a bunch of fat on it. It's not, doesn't really excite me. Hot dogs, that's duck food. If somebody gives me hot dogs, I cook them. I give them to the ducks. Let them eat it. I don't see the purpose. The only processed meat that I will eat occasionally is sausage. If I can find a good quality sausage, like maybe at one of the stores, they have one of those so-called homemade sausages where they don't put sugar in it. A lot of times it's just spices and meat, and maybe they use sodium or potassium nitrate or something like that. I'm not worried about that. Potassium nitrate is saltpeter. It's just a salt. I can deal with that, but I normally what I buy is going to be a top round of beef, or it's going to be some ground meat when it's marked down. I wait until it's the cheapest possible price. I buy as much as they have, and other than that, if something I could catch myself, maybe a wild chicken, a duck, or an iguana, and that's it.
And so you mentioned salt, and you said that sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. Are there any other seasonings like peppers or any pepper or anything that you use?
I grow peppers. I don't use it in my own food, but I do make food for friends, and I will use that. Same thing with paprika. Part of my family's Hungarian, so paprika is sort of a tradition. But I do keep some spices. I don't use them in my own food. I like my meat unspiced and very basic.
Yeah. Okay. And then you also mentioned that you eat 3 times a day usually, right?
That's right.
So I know that on carnivore, there's all kinds of ranges, right? Some people eat once a day, some people eat twice a day, some people eat 3 times a day. So, so give us a little bit of insight on what your typical day would be for eating.
My typical day is pretty much what I had today. This morning I had 4 eggs and a pound of beef. And then for lunch I had 2 pounds of beef, and dinner will be 2 pounds of beef. So that's pretty typical. If I have chicken, I'll have like 5 pounds of chicken fried in lard. If I have fish, depends on what fish it is. I may have a pound of fish. Depends on what I've got. It can vary, but most of the time it's going to be beef, and beef is going to be at least 2 pounds a day, sometimes 4 pounds, depending on how much I have and how hungry I am.
Yeah. Wow. 4 pounds in a day, and you're still that skinny.
Oh yeah, that's the funny thing. I don't gain weight. It's impossible for me to gain weight.
Yeah. That is something that I mean, I do get that though too, because like I've found with eating meat that there's just, if you stay strict with it and you're just eating meat, you can't seem to gain weight, unless you're coming into it like maybe from being a vegan or something where you're really skinny and you need to, build a little bit of muscle or something. Otherwise, I just don't see how you can gain weight. When I first started, I was eating quite a bit and I wasn't gaining weight. Not that I wanted to, but for some reason, like maybe because I wasn't getting enough of certain nutrients and so forth, but I just wanted to keep eating when I first started. And I ate quite a bit each day and I wasn't gaining any weight from it.
Yeah, it's true. I've always been thin. I've got pictures of me going through the years. I haven't changed much. I get a little older, but most of my friends, they look totally different from when they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
A lot of them were in really good shape, but now they're, well, I guess a pear is a shape. So yeah, it seems to change over time. Now they say they look at food, they gain weight. And they gain weight easily, and I don't. And I always get laughed at because we have a get together. I'll gobble down the meat, and they're like, "How much can this guy eat? There's just no way he can eat that much." Oh, you don't know what Rick can eat. You watch him. He'll eat everything off of that grill if you let him. I say, yeah, get your food first. And I usually eat before I go there. I'll eat something before I go to my friends' get together because I don't want to eat all the food. And then at the end, whatever's left over, if it's meat, I'll eat it. If it's non-meat and they don't want it, I take it home. I give it to the ducks.
So tell us a little bit about the ducks. I've seen some of your videos, and you have several ducks in your yard, right?
Oh, yeah, I love my ducks. I've always been a duck fanatic ever since I was a kid. I love my rubber duckies. I've got some of them around here somewhere, but I love my rubber duckies. I love ducks. I don't know what it is. Ducks just, every time I see a duck, I feel good. They're pretty much wild around here. They're the Muscovy ducks. They're considered invasive. A lot of people hate them because they poop everywhere and they tend to dig up the yard. But I love them. I always delight when I see them. And a lot of them are friendly. They'll come up to you looking for food. They wag their tails like a dog. They'll put their beak out. Sometimes they'll nibble on you trying to get food. They're extremely cute. And I love ducks. And then later on, I discovered that the eggs were delicious. And I discovered that aggressive ducks that aren't really nice, they taste good in the kitchen. So I learned how to catch, cook, and, have duck.
Yeah. That's great though. The whole thing with the duck eggs. I mean, that's a free meal there, right?
It's a free meal and it's free of, well, there's really no chemicals around here because people in Miami are lazy. They don't take care of their yard. They don't use fertilizer or spray. Their yard is basically a parking lot. Most of them are either cemented over or they have some kind of crabgrass or whatever. The rich neighborhoods, you find a lot of dead ducks because people use herbicides and fertilizers and pesticides. And the ducklings eat it and they die. But here, they live in the canal. They eat weeds, garbage, whatever. And the eggs are totally free range. I don't have to worry about pasture raised or, they're free range eggs. So yeah, they're different than chicken eggs. They have more yellow in the yolk and they're bigger. They don't taste much different, but the eggshells are harder to break. So yeah, and then the other thing is that I do a service to the neighborhood because I tell my neighbors, when you see the duck nesting, let me know. I'll remove most of the eggs. I usually leave them dummy eggs or maybe I'll leave them 2 or 3 real eggs. And then that way they'll stop laying eggs. They'll sit on it. Instead of having 20 ducklings, they may have 2 or 3. And then the population is stable. Because if you get too many ducks, they overwhelm the neighborhood. Pretty soon you got ducks everywhere and everybody's sliding on duck poop. So I tell my neighbors, when you see the ducks nesting, I'll take care of it. And I've kept the population in this section of the neighborhood stable. We don't want more than 30 ducks. Once it gets over 30 ducks, then it's kitchen time. Because you have to do something or they will multiply and believe, they may lay 20 eggs, maybe 8 or 10 survive. They can produce eggs 3 times a year. So you could imagine, out of control, people feeding them, you could have 200 ducks in a year or two. And that would be a disaster. So, by eating the eggs and eating the ducks, I think I do a service to the ducks themselves. If you get too many ducks, they start getting diseases. There's actually an enteritis or something that can kill ducks. And by keeping the population under control, it's not an issue. They seem to avoid that.
That's good. All right. And you mentioned iguanas. So you catch them and then eat them as well?
The iguanas were taking over my yard. I do grow a lot of fruits that I give to my friends, and some of them I give to the ducks. The iguanas were eating all my papayas, and I got mad one day. I said, you know what, I got to get rid of this stupid thing. And I remember throwing a pruning shears, hit it, and it killed it. So what am I going to do with this iguana? Am I going to bury it? I look at it, I'm like, it's a reptile. I've had rattlesnake and I've had frog. I wonder if I could eat this thing. And that's what I did. I cut that iguana up and I boiled him up and peeled him and tasted the meat. And it was tasty. It was somewhere between fish and chicken. It was tasty. And after that moment, I was hooked. Whenever I saw an iguana in my yard, instead of getting mad, I was like, yum, yum. I'm going to get this iguana. And I figured out you can boil them, you can fry them. I love fried iguana. You get some pork rinds and eggs, and you make a batter and you deep fry that thing in tallow or lard. Oh, it's so good. So, now I have no iguanas because I got rid of all of them. They were taking over. Now they're gone. I see a couple of baby ones, so maybe there's hope. Otherwise, I got to go down to the canal and hunt them. Some of the neighborhoods are full of iguanas, and others like mine don't have any.
Yeah. All right. So we talked a little bit about your YouTube channel. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the channel and what you do on there?
Well, my YouTube channel was actually started in 2007. I started the channel because I'm a car collector and I have all my old Dodge Chargers and stuff. I had two YouTube channels back then. One of them was called Free Energy Scams. And what I was doing was exposing all the ridiculous, water for gas and all these stupid perpetual motion machines and all this other crap that doesn't work that people fall for. And I would try to build a model of it, put it out there. Well, I got into a battle with a couple of YouTubers. And I don't know what happened, but eventually I lost my channel. And then this channel, a lot of my videos got deleted, and I didn't do anything with it. I started taking care of my parents in 2010. I didn't post any videos for at least 10 years. And then last year I posted a couple of videos just to see what was going on. And it really wasn't until 2021 I discovered that there's a carnivore diet around 2020 when we had the virus. And I didn't have a lot more to do, so I was going around. And then I started seeing all these channels, some of these doctors and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, that's the way I eat. What's the big deal? What's this carnivore diet, lion diet, and all this stuff? And then you see Joe Rogan and all these other Peterson or whatever. I've never really seen them before, but I started to look into it. I go, wow, this is the way I've been eating. And then most of them, they had been a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. I'm thinking, man, I've been doing this for, at the time, it was like 38 years. What's the big deal? Then the more I got into it, I started making comments on it. And then I made a comment on Joey on the Carnivore channel, and then he asked me to be interviewed. He interviewed me a couple times, and then after that, I just started getting on a lot of different channels, and then I started thinking, well, I'll put some of my own videos so people can see the experience that I've had. So that's pretty much what's happening. I don't have a lot of time, and I forgot how to use a lot of the video editing software. When I did it before, I used totally different setup. Everything I have is old, so my camera is ancient. That's why it looks so bad. So I haven't really put a lot into it, but I figured I'd put a few videos here and there, do a few interviews, just so that people could look at me as an example, as someone who's done this for so long and somehow survive. So that's pretty much what I've been doing with the YouTube channel.
Okay. And so your YouTube channel name is Charger Mopar, right? And
That's right.
I'm going to have a link in the description for this video so that people can go check it out. And I'm sure some of you probably are already subscribed to him because you probably know him through the different chats and so forth. But if you're not subscribed, go check it out and subscribe because he's got some really good videos in there. Like you got one video where you talk about how you transplanted or converted your backyard from grass to a garden style, which the ducks are thriving in, right?
Yeah, front and backyard. The whole yard is like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely check out his channel.
And I do a lot of composting. I'm an
Yeah.
excellent gardener. I have the reputation of being the best gardener of all my friends, and all my vegan friends, they love the fruits that I grow, and they line up for it. When I got my bananas and tomatoes and peppers and all that, they got their hands out. Here it is. 100% organic, no pesticides, no fertilizer, nothing. My pesticides have web feet and feathers.
Yeah. It's all natural, right?
It's all natural, including the poop that they put out. That's fertilizer.
Yeah.
And the compost.
Oh, yeah.
I got a wood chipper. I compost. I use a lawnmower. I have all kinds. I don't throw anything away. That's the other thing about this diet. You throw out so little. It's amazing. My garbage can is usually full of stuff that I got from other places I cleaned out, houses I've cleaned out, stuff that I had to get rid of. I put it in garbage. But my own stuff, 99% of it goes right back into the yard. The leftover food, that goes to the ducks. Whatever they don't eat goes in the compost pile. All my yard waste gets composted. I don't throw any of that out, and I never have. So, I guess it's just part of the lifestyle. Waste not, want not kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. All right. Well, Rick, thanks for joining us today. And like I said, we'll have a link to your channel in the description. Anything that you want to add at the end here?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, everyone has seen my interviews and they have a pretty good idea of what I do and what I'm all about. But I guess the only thing I would add is that if anyone has any specific questions or requests that they'd like from me, feel free to email me or make a comment on one of my videos. I respond to every comment that I can see. So I'm not like the big YouTubers that they don't really respond. They have millions of subscribers. I have less than about 1,500, something like that. So I will respond whenever I can. The other thing is that I'm the oddball in the carnivore space, and I think compared to the average person is either a doctor, expert, or there's somebody that had a health condition or they were overweight or whatever. I'm the exception to the rule, so I'm probably the most unique out of all the carnivores out there. I'm probably one of the longest that's been doing it, and I did it for reasons different than anybody else. I've never met anyone on this diet that did it for the same reason that I did, to try and get bigger and try and get a heart attack.
Yeah. I think there's probably very few people that said, I'm going to go to the carnivore diet because I want to have a heart attack.
Well, it seemed funny, and like I said, when I saw that guy come up with a heart attack grill, at that time he was in Arizona, and I looked at that, I thought that's exactly what I would have done if I would have set up a restaurant. That just seemed like so much fun. The only thing is, the food is different because I think the emphasis was more on sugar, and but definitely had the fat in there. With
Mhm.
me, it would be all meat, fat, everything as much beef and tallow and lard as you could stuff in the food. And again, I use that. I put it on my own hair. I use tallow to make my own soap. I don't even buy any shampoo or any other products. I make everything myself.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, thank you, Rick.